Madam Chair, we are now live and you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone watching and listening. Welcome to the Pitt County Board of Commissioners virtual meeting for June 21st, 2020. At this time, we will call the Pitt County Board of Commissioners to order. Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Commissioner Albright.
Here.
Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Here.
Commissioner Nunnally.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. We will now have invocation by Commissioner Alex Albright and the pledge by Commissioner Tom Colson.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for your many blessings. We ask for your guidance and protection, and we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and face any flag or imagine that you are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Managers, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, ma'am, not this time.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that the agenda stands approved as printed. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunnally.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have the public address to the board. Mr. Manager, do we have anybody signed up?
No, ma'am, we have nobody signed up tonight.
Okay, thank you. Well, we will move to the public hearing and we'll now open the public hearing. Would you like to, Mr. Manager, do you have anything to say before Mr. Rhodes?
No, we'll turn it over to Mr. Rhodes to introduce the request.
All right, Mr. Rhodes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ryan, I just want to do a check to make sure everything's showing on the screen okay.
James, it's showing up, but it's in the presentation view still.
Well, Madam Chair, it worked fine a minute ago, so hold on just a second.
Come on, just.
All right.
James, if you can save it to the Auditorium 90-day, we can pull it up on our end.
I've got it right here.
It came up just a little bit ago.
It sure did. I think we jinxed ourselves when we tried it earlier. I've actually got it on the P drive if you want to pull it up, because I'm not having any luck here.
No problem. Is it in the 90-day?
No, it's under planning, audio studio presentations.
All right, hang tight, and we will pull that up.
Can you see that now, Ryan?
Would this be the presentation we're looking for?
Yes, that's your first one.
Yes, that's it.
All right, and we have Ryan riding the controls, so just let us know when to go to the next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Again, another sign why we need to be back live. So I apologize for that. These things are supposed to be getting easier all the time. They're not. So with that, we have two rezonings for tonight. The first one is a straightforward rezoning. It is property owned by Philip Lewis, and it's located, I'll show you a map that gives you a much better detail as to where the property is located, but property is about 5 acres in total. It's very close to the Southwest bypass, and the request is to rezone from rural residential to general commercial. Here's your map, and again, the red line here. And Ryan, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. Is that correct?
No, you.
That is correct. Yeah.
So the red star is the location of the property. It is just to the west of the Southwest bypass, and also is adjacent to US 13. Next slide. And this is straight. Most of you realize we did a corridor plan for the Southwest bypass. This area, of course, is just adjacent to the Southwest bypass. It was opened just a couple of years ago. And right here at the off-ramp where the Southwest bypass intersects with US 13 is where this property is located, and it's bounded in the dark black dashed line. And that is also within our neighborhood, our proposed neighborhood commercial area, the kind of pink color there. And the request again tonight is for general commercial. Next slide. Currently, this property is undeveloped. The green color here is for undeveloped property. You can see some limited residential in and around the area. Most of you are familiar with Emery Woods subdivision that's just off of US 13. That is the area towards the south of there. And, there's been a lot of changes in the road configuration here. This is also at the intersection of where Davenport Farm Road and Bell Arthur Road come together at US 13. So it is just to the east of that site and just to the west of the ramp coming off the southwest bypass. Next slide. And again, the Southwest Bypass Corridor Plan recognizes this area as neighborhood commercial. And not surprisingly, that is for small scale commercial development, typically convenience stores, retail, restaurants, and some offices. Next slide. Our current zoning map, again, I've shown you the map originally that showed this is primarily undeveloped property. So right now it's currently zoned as rural residential. And you can see just to the west of there, the dark green is is agricultural, rural agricultural. And there are some other, the red area back towards the east as well as a large general commercial area. That's where Little's nursery is located. Next slide. So again, the request tonight is to rezone to general commercial, and that district, as you've heard time and again, is to accommodate a range of retail and service and office related activities. This particular area is subject to the Southwest Bypass Highway Corridor Overlay, and that is very similar to what you've seen on US 264, where we've had this corridor overlay in place for a while. It does require enhanced buffering and screening for that area, and also deals with some issues associated with parking. The parking has to be to the rear of the building and those sorts of things. Next slide. Staff does find that this is consistent with the Southwest Bypass Land Use Plan, given that the property's location is at an interchange of two major corridors, and we've mentioned that US 13 and the Southwest Bypass, as well as this designation as neighborhood commercial on the future land use plan. Next slide. Also, as we've talked about with the new planning statutes that have gone in place, we also have to recognize whether it's reasonable and in the public interest, and we believe that this rezoning request is. It is appropriate for small scale commercial development, and future non-residential development will be subject to the requirements of the corridor overlay district. Next slide. So there are two motions tonight. Number one is to adopt the following consistency statement that's in your agenda package, and I'll read through that again. And motion number two, next slide, is to also approve the request by Baldwin and Associates to rezone this 4.7 acres to general commercial. So with that, Madam Chair, we're ready for the public hearing.
Okay. But may I have open the for the public hearing? Do we have anybody speaking?
Again, nobody signed up at this time, to my knowledge.
Okay. So we will close the public hearing and we will entertain a motion. Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Ward, I believe I see your hand. Unmute.
That's not going to work real well for me today.
I hear you.
Okay. The two recommendation motions are in our packet. I don't think I need to read them as they are, but I will attempt to make a motion so we'll understand what we're voting on. The first motion is to adopt the request consistent with the Pitt County Southwest Bypass Land Use Plan, given the subject property's location at an interchange between two major thoroughfares, US 13 and the NC-11 bypass, and to its designation as neighborhood commercial on the future land use map. And the second part of the motion is to approve the request by Baldwin Design Consultant to rezone 4.76 acres located on the northern side of US 13 between its intersections with SR 1206, which is the Bell Arthur Road, and the NC 11 bypass in the Arthur Township. Is that correct, James?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Can I have a second?
I'd like to second that, please.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll go to the next item. Mr. Rhodes, I believe you're up again.
Yes, ma'am. This is our second rezoning for tonight. And if I can get Ryan to pull the presentation back up, please. And proceed on to the second rezoning slide, please. Right there. Again, the second rezoning for tonight is to rezone 2 acres, and this is owned by the McCorkles. This is located on Gum Swamp Church Road, north of its intersection with Briley Road, very close to Belvoir Crossroads. And this particular rezoning request is for to change from rural residential to rural agricultural as a conditional district. And as you know, with these conditional districts, it's usually for one or maybe a handful of uses. This particular request tonight is for the operation of a welding shop. Next slide. And just to orient you a bit, the star there is on Gum Swamp Church Road. Again, just a little south and east of Belvoir Crossroads, pretty much between the city of Greenville's extraterritorial jurisdiction and Belvoir. Next slide.
No.
Again, to show you a little bit closer where the property is located, it is on Gum Swamp Church Road. It is adjacent to some residential property. This is shown in our comprehensive land use plan. This particular area is suburban residential, and it is also very close to rural residential / agricultural, that designation within our land use plan. Next slide. As far as the existing land uses, those in general proximity are primarily undeveloped to the north of that property. And then there are some sparsely located residential properties there. And you'll also see a few sprinkling in of some institutional uses, primarily churches that are in blue, and a few other commercial type lots that are located along NC 33 primarily, and those are commercial in nature. Next slide. As I mentioned from our future land use plan, this is recognized as suburban residential, and that particular designation actually includes a number of different activities, everything from residential to some limited multifamily or commercial or light industrial type uses. Next slide. As far as this rezoning, there are locational criteria for certain types, and in this case, we're looking at more or less a small scale industrial type use that would And these are allowed when you have frontage and access on major highways or a secondary road. And this particular designation also is distinguished from other more rural type development and has a broader range of land uses that are allowed. Next slide. So our current zoning in that area, number one, the light green is rural residential, and the request is to toggle this over to rural agriculture, the darker green. And the rural agriculture, since it does also allow for agricultural related activities, this welding shop fits in well with that type of category. So that's the request. It seems a little bit odd to take it back to a more rural designation, but in fact, that is where this welding shop is allowed within our zoning ordinance. So with that, next slide. The rural agricultural district is primarily intended to accommodate very low density residential uses, also some low intensity commercial uses and agricultural related industrial uses. Next slide. So this conditional zoning district, as I mentioned, if it is approved, will rezone to rural agricultural, but it is expressly for this one use and one use only, and that is for a welding shop. And those of you that might be familiar with this property, I know Commissioner Perkins Williams is, this particular site has been used, and the particular buildings that are on the site have been used for a welding business prior to this. It is not currently zoned for that. When we initially went into countywide zoning for the county, it was not recognized as an industrial use. Therefore, when it closed down a few years ago, this non-conforming use has to be brought up to today's standards, and that means the rezoning we're going through tonight. Next slide. So if you'll flip through, this is the sketch plan. Again, with your new amendments that went through, we will get a site plan, if approved tonight, a site plan that's prepared by a surveyor or professional engineer. But this is just to give you an idea of what's proposed on the land. If you'll click through that, again, that's your boundary line. The gray line around the side is already a fence that's on location there. Next. You can also see in blue will be the 3 buildings that are currently used or have been used for the welding operation. There's also a driveway with a parking area, and the green area to the north and to the east will be a buffer area that is required to separate it from residentially zoned property. Next slide. And that's the driveway with the gate right there off of Gumsloth Church Road. Next slide. Pitt County staff has reviewed this and are advising that it is consistent with the land use plan. Next slide. And also that it's reasonable and in the public's best interest. There are some commercial uses within general proximity to this location. And as we've mentioned before, this site has been previously operated as a welding facility. Next slide. So with this, there's a consistency statement that goes along with it, very similar to the one prior to that. Next slide. And motion 2 is also to approve this rezoning, but it is as a conditional district expressly for a welding shop. With this conditional district rezoning, there are also conditions that can apply, and there are several that we'd like to mention tonight. Next slide. No zoning compliance permit until, as I mentioned, that site plan that shows all the improvements that's prepared by surveyor engineers brought in. Outdoor storage areas only for the equipment and material for the proposed use. The landscaping plan is required. Next slide. All the parking spaces and access drives must be maintained and developed to a certain extent with concrete or asphalt. A soil erosion sedimentation control plan is also required if it's more than 1 acre disturbed, which probably in this case won't happen. Next slide. Also, stormwater ordinance may kick in depending on any new improvements that go on that, especially if they involve more than 1/2 acre that's disturbed. All required permits by the inspections office must be had before this property can be used for the welding shop, and a permit from DOT is required as well. Next slide. So with that, Madam Chair, again, conditional district rezoning, all those conditions we feel like are applicable and need to be as part of this consideration of this rezoning tonight. So we're ready for the public hearing at this time.
Okay. I declare public hearing open. Anybody signed up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will close public hearing. And I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Perkins Williams?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to offer the motion as printed in our agenda pack, in our booklet packet on this property.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we approve this rezoning ordinance as presented. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And now we will close the public hearing. Okay. We will now move to the next item. We have employee recognition, 2 resolutions honoring 2 employees. Mr. Manager?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Tonight, we'd like to honor 2 Pitt County employees who are retiring. And the board's policy is with county employees with 30 years of service, we do a formal resolution to honor each. Tonight, we have Michele McCorkle of DSS, as well as Michele Whaley, our Animal Services Director. And I will proceed with, actually, let me show you a picture of the actual resolution itself. This will be what they will be presented with.
Okay.
That shows up on the camera, but that's the framed version of it. But if you allow, I'll go ahead and read the first one, then you can act on it, and I'll read the second one, you can act on it.
Okay, go ahead.
So first resolution honoring Michele McCorkle for her years of service with Pitt County government. Whereas Michele McCorkle was hired July 31st, 1989 in the position of income maintenance caseworker 2, and worked in the Aid to Families with Dependent Children program in the Medicaid program of the Pitt County Department of Social Services. And whereas Michele McCorkle was promoted to Child Support Agent 1 on April 9th, 1995, promoted to Child Support Agent 2 on April 7th, 1996, and promoted to Child Support Supervisor on December 10th, year 2000, and then promoted to Child Support Supervisor 3 on November 8th, 2007. And whereas under Michele McCorkle's leadership, the Department of Social Services completed a reorganization and created the Family Support Division, and she was promoted to Income Administrator 1. Whereas Michele McCorkle has faithfully served the citizens of Pitt County 31 years and 11 months, whereas Michele McCorkle displayed the highest degree of professionalism as shown through her honesty, commitment, and loyalty. And whereas Michele McCorkle is respected by her coworkers and the citizens of Pitt County whom she has served throughout the years. And whereas under Michele McCorkle's leadership, Pitt County's Child Support Division received the 2015 Excellence in Innovation and Collaboration Award from the North Carolina Child Support Council for Operations Educations-Motivate. The 2019 Excellence in Service for the RRAD, which stands for the Routing, Review, and Approval of Data, a joint project with the Child Support, DSS, Fiscal, and MIS under her leadership. Pitt County collected $15,921,350 in fiscal year 20 in child support, which was an all-time high collection rate for Pitt County. And whereas Michele McCorkle served on the Pitt, Beaufort, Martin Economic Improvement Council, Incorporated, Policy Board, and then the Pitt Area Transit Advisory Board. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby expresses gratitude and thanks to Michele McCorkle for her career of dedicated and exemplary service to the people of Pitt County, and honors her with this resolution of appreciation given under our hand and seal of Pitt County, adopted the 21st day of June 2021, and will be tested by the clerk Kimberly Hines and signed by our chairwoman and Floyd Huggins. And Chairwoman Huggins, I'm not sure if we have Ms. McCorkle with us tonight.
I am.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, then Ms. McCorkle, we really want to thank you and we appreciate your 31 years plus service to the citizens of Pitt County. Thank you so much. At this time, I'll enter Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Madam Chairman, I'm honored to offer the motion that we adopt the resolution as attached, as written in our agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second, Madam Clerk.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we adopt the resolution as printed and read for Michele McCorkle. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will have the next resolution.
Okay, so we have a resolution honoring Michele Whaley. And can we pull Michele up first? I apologize, I didn't do that for our first honoree. Is Michele on the, she was earlier on the call?
Yeah, she was here earlier, so.
Okay. So there she is.
Yes, yes.
Welcome, Michele. So I will proceed if you allow me, Madam Chairwoman.
Please do.
Okay. Resolution honoring Michele Whaley for her years of service with Pitt County government. Whereas Michele Whaley was hired July 22nd, 2002 in the position of Animal Services Director, whereas Michele Whaley has faithfully served the citizens of Pitt County 18 years and 10 months. Whereas Michele Whaley is a certified euthanasia technician, certified North Carolina rabies vaccinator, and has completed shelter management course and apprenticeship through Maddie's Fund. And whereas under Michele Whaley's leadership, Animal Services implemented a pet responsibility program through Pitt County Schools, East Carolina University dog walking classes, Doggy Day Out, dog sleepover programs, pet foster care programs, mandatory spay neuter for adopted animals, heartworm program, trap and release program for stray cats, the TNR program, pet microchip program, and the comprehensive animal services ordinance. And whereas Michele Whaley is respected by her co-workers and the citizens of Pitt County, whom she has served throughout the years. And whereas under Michele Whaley's leadership, Pitt County Animal Shelter was designated a, quote, no-kill, unquote, animal shelter by reducing the number of euthanized animals and increasing the number of adoptions. The live release rate improvement from 12 to 80% during Michele Whaley's tenure was realized. And whereas Michele Whaley served on the North Carolina Animal and Rabies Control Association as a board member, secretary, and president, and is active in the North Carolina Animal Federation, Best Friends Animal Society, and the Pitt County Relay for Life. Whereas Michele Whaley has served the community by setting up additional sheltering operations during emergency events such as Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence. And whereas Michele Whaley has worked to secure countless non-taxpayer grant dollars from organizations such as Petco Foundation, Rachel Ray Foundation, Community Partnership for Pets, Best Friends Animal Society, Pet Finder, PetSmart, NCVMA, Maddie's Fund, ACPCA, American Kennel Club, Humane Society, and the Humane Society of the United States. And whereas Michele Whaley has served as the liaison to the Animal Services Advisory Board. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby express its gratitude and thanks to Michele Whaley for her career of dedicated and exemplary service to the people of Pitt County, and honors her with this resolution of appreciation given under our hand and seal of Pitt County, again adopted this 21st day of June 2021, attested by the clerk Kimberly Hines and by Chairwoman and Floyd Huggins.
Again, Michele, thank you for your service of 18 years and 10 months. We appreciate your service.
Thank you
I
so
will-
much.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second that the resolution honoring Michele Whaley will be approved as read and printed. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yeah.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item is recognizing our employees with the service award for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and 25 years. And we will ask Florida and Scott, please.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. So tonight we will start with our 5-year category of employees. And the first employee, and obviously they're not with us tonight. We're just doing this, reading them out, and we'll get their awards presented to them by their department heads. So with 5 years of service, Bradford Boyd, Social Services, Jonathan Ryan Croom, Emergency Management, Paula Dickens, Social Services, Candace Renee Grubb, Social Services, Hannah Marie Hines, Management Information Systems, Justin Lindsay Hoyt, Sheriff's Office, Trey Curtis Jackson, Buildings and Grounds, Joyce Johnson, Social Services, Lakeisha Nicole Mills, Social Services, Allison Gherkins Mons, Public Health, Frank Morgan, Pitt Area Transit, Alina Paula Castro, Public Health, Larisha Person Jones, Social Services, April Dawn Proctor, Detention Center, Brandon Terrell Pugh, Detention Center, Patricia Reagan, Social Services, Brian Montez Tellez, Detention Center, Matthew Raymond Whittington, Detention Center, and Shaquana Williams, Social Services. That's our 5-year category. Moving to the 10-year category, we have 3 employees: Michael P. McDaniel, Detention Center, Mario Mealy, Sheriff's Office, and James Vincent, Pitt Soil and Water Conservation. Moving to our 15-year category, we have about 8 employees, plus or minus: Colleen Anderson, Social Services, William Arnold, Animal Services, Portia Barrett, Social Services, James Casper, Environmental Health, Matthew Davis, Sheriff's Office, Bertha Hall Bryant, Social Services, Rodney Jacobs, Detention Center, and Susan May, Social Services. In the 20-year category, we have 5 employees, and this category is always special because these employees have the opportunity to pick out a watch from a local jewelry store in town to recognize them for their 20 years with Pitt County government. These employees include Angela Donnell Harrell, Social Services, Francis Kennedy, Sheriff's Office, Stephen McKinney, Detention Center, April Roebuck, Buildings and Grounds, and John Williams, Detention Center. We also have one 25-year employee, John Guard with the Pitt County Sheriff's Office. Madam Chairwoman, that concludes our employee service awards.
Thank you. And we want to say thank you to all of these employees for their service to Pitt County. Next item for report, we have the May 2021 tax collection report from Sam Gomes, Croom.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Manager Elliott. Tonight I bring you the May 2021 tax collection report. The Pitt County fiscal year to date, July 1, 2020 through May 31st, 2021, the combined collection rate for real and personal property is 99.15%. The rate 1 year ago for real and personal property was 98.89%. Pitt County Tax Administration continues to pursue all outstanding taxes using the necessary remedies available through the North Carolina General Statutes. It's my recommendation to approve the May 2021 tax collection report as presented.
Okay, Commissioner Ward.
Madam Chair, I move for acceptance of the report.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we accept the May 2021 tax collection report. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item, monthly financial report for general fund, solid waste enterprise fund, EMS fund for May 31st, 2021. And we have Brian Barnett reporting that.
Good evening, Chair Floyd Huggins and Board of Commissioners. You have presented in front of you the monthly financial report for the general fund, solid waste fund, and EMS fund for the month ending May 31st, 2021. This is the last report for this fiscal year. This puts us 11 months through the 12-month period, and we're at 91.67% of the fiscal year. On the general fund, we've collected 92% of anticipated revenues and only spent 84.5% of budgeted expenditures. On the solid waste side, we have collected 90.78% and only spent 80.71%. And in the EMS fund, we have collected 98.95% while only spending 90.05%. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions? Hearing no questions. I'll entertain a
Motion to approve.
I second it.
Been moved in second that the report is approved as reported. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now have the next item, the Jail Medical Service Committee report from Scott.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So on the Jail Medical Services Committee, the committee met recently and actually met on June the 9th. And we discussed, let me first say that the board had directed that for the following individuals for myself as county manager, county attorney, county finance officer, chief of detention services, the sheriff, and the sheriff's attorney. We also added to the group the Pitt County Health Director as well. So we met June 9th, had a productive meeting. You'll see on page 53 within your agenda package, we came up with a couple different things. There's two major things to be accomplished. One is to update the current jail medical plan that's in place. And technically that really needs to be in place July 1, but that we'll have to kind of pinch it with this while we, even though we have a new contractor starting, but the sheriff's office is going to work on revising this and then submit it to the committee for consideration, then come back to you in August or September timeframe to be approved. The second step to this would be the RFP. That's the request for proposals. That is the process, excuse me, that you have directed the county partake in fiscal year 21-22. So there's two steps to this. You'll see the calendar in front of you for an RFP process, but below that, we've got this timeline for an alternate model, which we're calling a consortium model. And we want to come back as a committee to be able to consider this alternate model. This alternate model could be made up of local medical entities or institutions in Pitt County that could possibly deliver this service. If that is not possible or feasible, then we would default to the RFP process outlined in the middle of the page and develop the RFP, finalize it, have the US board review it, and then release it, and then go forward as outlined in the list of dates. So we've come up, I believe, with an ongoing meeting schedule. We've got that set in the calendar Outlook, and we'll be moving this forward. This is information only to let you know that we did meet and that we are moving forward on this at your direction.
All right. Thank you. Next item, your report.
Yes. So next on my items, you've got your next meeting dates. In the month of July, you only have one meeting that'll be on Monday, July the 19th. That's due to a couple of reasons. One is because of the NACO conference, and the other is because of the July 4th weekend. This will be your first in-person meeting, basically face-to-face, but it will be at the Eugene, at the Mark W. Owens Jr. Auditorium at the Ag Center, and we will, as able and as appropriate, like we've done in other meeting instances where you as a board have met out there, we will employ social distancing as able and feasible. So that will be there. Next item, we'd like to introduce you to our new Public Information Director, Dawn Jones, and I believe she's going to come down to the podium. She's up in your boardroom. If we can get Dawn on the main part of the screen, PIO office can do that. There we go. We'd like to welcome Dawn. She is, again, serving as our new Director of Public Information and Media Relations. She grew up in Farmville, is an ECU graduate, has over 20 years of experience with marketing, graphic design, and communications in both the private sector as well as ECU. So Dawn is hitting the ground running, literally and figuratively, and we have a high degree of confidence that she will do well in this position. Dawn, did you want to say anything to the board?
Thank you for having me. I look forward to working with the commissioners and for Pitt County.
Well, welcome, and we look forward to working with you also.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, next item on my report, shell building update. So we've are happy to report, announce to you that we have closed on the shell building. It closed on Friday, June the 18th. We have received the proceeds from that sale, and we'll be recommending to use those proceeds to invest into another shell building that we will hopefully be putting on lots 1 and 2 in the Inter-Green Corporate Park is the plan as part of that transaction for us. So we are very pleased that the shell building is actively being used and sold, just as we had built it and designed it, and that was the purpose of it.
Mr. Manager, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is all of the land in the Green Corporate Park about used, or I mean sold or occupied?
I would guesstimate there's probably 50 to 60% of it is already been developed with industries on it. There's probably between that and a third of it that's still open for development. There's a number of parcels out there that still can be developed. And all this area is outside the city of Greenville. It's in their ETJ. It's a very attractive area for business and industry. And we're looking forward to hopefully landing some more tenants out there. The Pitt County's Warren Farm is adjacent to that. That's about 127 acres that you purchased a couple of years back. That is adjoining land that is for the intent of industrial purposes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Item D in my report, the Confederate Monument update. We had actually advertised tonight for June the 21st to be the night that the board would actually take action to transfer the Confederate monument to the Sons of the Confederate Veterans Incorporated. But unfortunately, the lease arrangement between this group and the property owner has not yet been transacted in terms of the lease being transacted. So we are going to have to push this out, and hopefully at your next meeting on tentatively July 19th, we'll be able to bring this back and allow you to take the action to act on this. We'll have to re-advertise this again once we solidify that that's the actual date. And Madam Chairwoman, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Well, I will entertain a motion to move on the items for consent.
So moved.
Okay,
I second it.
it's been moved in second that we approve the items for consent. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Well, that item number 11 on our agenda, item for the decision. I believe Tim Coley's up first.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I bring before you tonight consideration of a release of an RFQ for the Law Enforcement Center. This would be for the design services for that building. You may recall back in 1920, as part of the capital improvement process, plan process, we y'all approved moving forward on that project. We went all the way to the interview process. Actually interviewed a couple firms and was very close to selection. And then we put it on hold just with all the budget unknowns with last year. Now, as you were told in this year's capital improvement planning process, you approved moving forward with this project. And tonight we're coming just to ask for approval to release the RFQ again. According to our legal department, we need to go through that process again. We're going to kind of do a shortened way of doing that and then select a firm so that we can move forward with the design of the law enforcement center. So come before you tonight, estimated cost of the design is about $250,000 and overall cost is about $6 million for the design and construction of the proposed law enforcement center. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve it. Commissioner Ward?
Motion to.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the release of the Law Enforcement Center RFQ for architectural services.
Commissioner
Second.
McCorkle? Okay.
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second,
And hallelujah.
and that we approve the release. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We'll now hear from Brian Barnett on the overview of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 budget amendment.
Yes, Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works.
We got it over here.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
I think it may be in preview mode, but I think we can make this work. It's a relatively short presentation. So we wanted to present to you all tonight the county's funding involved in the American Rescue Plan. We refer to it as ARP. Just to give you guys a background, it was signed into law on March 11th of this year as part of President Biden's $1.88 trillion coronavirus relief package. Of that 1.8 trillion, 350 million is allocated for state and local fiscal recovery funds. 2.034 billion is going directly to North Carolina counties, and 1.3 billion is going directly to North Carolina's municipalities. On the municipal side, you have to be of a certain size to get your money directly, but each of the 100 counties are receiving their funding directly from the federal government. In total, North Carolina is looking at 5.3 billion and almost 9 million. North Carolina as a state is looking at 5.3 billion, and then the local governments combined is looking at about 9 billion. So basic rules and eligibility when it comes to the money that the county is going to receive. In all, we are looking at a little bit over $35 million from the federal government. The federal government has split that money in two tranches. So the first we received about middle part of May of this year, and we should receive the other half in May of 2022. We have to have our funds allocated or encumbered by December 31st, 2024. And we are allowed to spend any money that is allocated or encumbered or under contract for another 2 years. So we have up until December 31st, 2026 to fully exhaust all the funding, as long as that funding has been either encumbered, allocated, or under contract. Because just like with the CARES Act, there was a look back period. So actually any expense that's eligible, we can go back to March 3rd of 2021 and capture it as ARP funding. Here's two strict no-nos that they have really stressed. We cannot use this funding to offset any tax revenue. We can't use this funding for any pension funds. In our case, the funding that we set aside for retirement is not in the truest sense of what they consider to be pension funds. So we shouldn't have any problems with those two bullet points. And then the final one, according to North Carolina, we're only allowed to spend within those eligible arenas expenses that the North Carolina General Assembly and Constitution gives us statutory authority to spend. So even if it's an eligible expense, if we don't have the authority to spend money on that, then we're not allowed to use our ARP funding for that particular expense. So basically, the federal government has pretty much set this up in the four very broad categories. The one caveat that they have mentioned is, even though these are broad categories, we must demonstrate that we have a need for that particular spending. So we can't just put money into something because a category allows us to do it. We have to demonstrate that there was a need for that particular spending as it responds to the public health and emergency or any negative impact due to COVID. We are allowed premium pay to eligible employees for their essential work. We can use this funding to address revenue reductions. And then the final broad category is to make investments in water, sewer, or broadband. Please keep in mind that all rules and regulations, guidance is all driven by the United States Treasury Department. So we have to follow the guidelines that they set out, just like we had to do with the CARES Act. One area that we have an opportunity to be impacted, even though it's not our direct funding, well, actually several areas, as you can see here. What we are hoping to be able to do is actually to take our funding and in some of these areas actually combine it with money that's coming through from the state and the federal government to address public health in terms of vaccines and testing. There's $7.5 billion in the CDC that they're going to distribute for vaccine, and $3.9 million in a block grant for mental health treatment. On the education side, there's an opportunity for $3.6 billion for K through 12 schools and higher education, childcare, and Head Start. In food assistance, There's opportunity to extend 15% of benefits for SNAP, which is our food stamp program, and $4 billion for food assistance loans to keep the supply chain moving. On the rental and utility assistance, we're going to continue with $21 billion to help with that assistance, as well as mortgage assistance, transit funding, and homelessness assistance. And then on the business and economic side, they are looking at continuing the stimulus with $1,400 for 89% of adults in North Carolina, and they're also looking at a $1,600 child credit and unemployment benefits, $300 supplement through September of 2021, and a tax waiver. And then on the small business assistance, $2.8 billion in restaurant revitalization fund, $7 billion to expand PPP eligibility, and $15 billion for the EIDL grants. And part of the reason why I wanted to show you this chart of additional funding that's going to flow through the state and the federal government is that there may be opportunities to really leverage this funding to make our funding go even farther. So there may be an opportunity for us to either piggyback on their programs to provide help throughout the county, or maybe an opportunity for us to extend the help that we have in place. So there may be areas that they can cover, so then we can put money towards other areas in the county that we see fit over the next 3 to 6 years.
Good plan.
So our next steps in your agenda packet is a budget amendment. This officially allows us to accept the $17.5 million that we've already received. We are looking to put together a staff committee to come back to you with recommendations at the August 9th meeting. And then obviously, it's just like with the CARES Act, there will be certain requirements for reporting, which our first report will be due September 1st. You may notice that we have August 9th as the first meeting, if you so choose to have us put our committee together. Part of the reason for that is the fact that the federal government put out a list of rules, and then they put out a 2-month interim period to review those rules and to submit feedback. So the final rules have not been fully put together yet, and it will be not until the middle part of July. So I do expect there to be some changes in the guidance. I expect there's to be some changes in what we can spend and what we can't spend, and we can and cannot spend money on. So I think for our sake, and the fact that we have 3 years to obligate the money, there is no direct need to speed up the process. I'd also like to see what other locations and municipalities looking to spend their funding on, just to make sure there's something that there's a program out there that we're not missing out on. So I think we have plenty of time over the next 3 years to move money around as we see fit. So we were hoping to bring back our first set of recommendations at the first meeting in August. With that being said, I'll be glad to take any questions about our funding.
Any questions? Okay, I don't see, I can't see hands, so speak up if, okay, Commissioner Albright.
Hey, thank you. And thanks for the good news, Brian. I'm glad to see the broadband on here. For clarification, under rental and utility assistance, in that category, it mentions transit funding. Is that considered a utility, or is that tied in with mortgage and homelessness assistance? You know, is that a standalone?
To be honest with you, I don't know specifically how they're breaking up transit funding. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you that because it is an item that we can put money in, that was something that the committee will probably consider if you choose to advocate that we put a committee together.
Yeah, it would be interesting. You know, I had a meeting with some people from Greenville a year or so before the pandemic, and we had started talking about reviving this idea of a countywide transportation program. And I'm guessing that Greenville is getting some money in this too, and that maybe in your discussions that could, I talked to Ann Wall, and she seemed pretty interested in it. There certainly are some roadblocks, and I just would like to throw that out as an area that would be interesting to investigate if we could go forward with. I think there was around 2000, there was the beginnings of a proposal to sort of work towards this, and I don't think it's come back up again formally since then. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, I don't see your hand. Okay, Commissioner Perkins.
I have my paper laying on top of my computer, so I couldn't put it up. Brian, on the chart, non-direct county funding, the bottom, the base of the slide, it said economic impact for those adults who are listening. Can you make it clear what this means?
I'm not sure if I can make it clear, but based on what it's looking at here, it was just another round of stimulus. So this money would not come directly from the county. This is coming from the federal government. So I don't know if I can make
Is it
more
something
clear
that
than
we've
it's
already
there.
received? Because I'm going to get a question about it, and I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to tell you. Is it something that they've already received, or is it something projected as a future for 89% of the adults?
I'm not directly sure. This presentation was put together from the County Commissioner Association. So the timing of this, some folks may have already received their additional stimulus, and some it still may be in the works.
Boy, that was very vague, Brian.
Well,
Thank you for trying.
he doesn't want to say something that he doesn't know. All right. I don't see any other hands. So at this time, we need a motion to accept the money, the amendment, and also to a committee. Is that what you want to, Brian?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Perkins-Williams?
I'd like to offer the motion that we accept the funds and that we move forward with setting up the committee.
Okay. Can I have a second?
A
Commissioner
second.
Ward? Commissioner Ward?
I second it.
Okay.
Can
All
you-
right. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, it's been moved in second. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins-Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll move to the third item, the NACO annual conference, electing a voting delegate for it. Scott?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, you have 4 commissioners attending, yourself as chairwoman, Commissioner McLaughlin, Commissioner Perkins-Williams, and Commissioner Nunley. So you do need to select a voting delegate out of the 4 of you as you will attend this conference in July.
Okay, I would like to ask if Commissioner Nunley would, if everybody would agree, would be our voting delegate. He's
That
first.
was the same thing I was going to suggest that Nunley do it. He loves to talk.
Well, his
I think
first,
it'd be a good experience for him.
his first conference, so that's what I was thinking about.
If he would
I love
accept it,
I'll accept.
great.
All right, do we need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
okay, it's been moved in second that Commissioner Nunley will be our voting delegate at the NACO conference. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins-Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item, reappointment to the Winnable Board of Adjustment. Scott?
Yes, you have a request to reappoint Mr. Jeff Jeffrey Briley to the Winterville Board of Adjustment.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we reappoint him. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson, Commissioner Colson,
I was unmuted. I said yes. I was listening.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The reappointment to the Pitt Community College Board of Trustees, Scott?
Yes, you have a request to reappoint Mr. Gary Evans and Mr. Brian Floyd to the Board of Trustees.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'd like to recommend the reappointment of Mr. Gary Evans and Mr. Brian Floyd. They both have attended all meetings and have been very active and are good representatives.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved in second that we reappoint those two to the Community College Board of Trustees. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright, Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next one, nomination to the Greenville Utilities Commission. Scott?
Yes, ma'am. You have a request to consider a nomination to the GUC board. There are two requirements. One must be outside the city of Greenville and also be a GUC customer. There's been a request to nominate Sydney Lawrence Davenport to the GUC board.
Motion to approve.
I second.
Second.
Been moved in second that we appoint Lawrence Davenport to the Greenville Utilities Commission. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Reappointment to the ABC Board, Scott?
Yes, you have a request to reappoint Vice Chairman Mike Fitzpatrick to the ABC board.
Have a
I so
motion?
move.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we reappoint Patrick to the ABC Board. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Reappointment to the Greenville Board of Adjustment, Scott?
Yes, you have a request to reappoint Becky Meeks to this board.
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we reappoint this person to the Grafton Board of Adjustment. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next one, reappointment to the Grafton Planning Board.
Yes, you have a request to reappoint Toby Williams to this board.
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we reappoint the mentioned person to the Grafton Planning Board. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Number 10, appointment to the Pitt Greenville Airport Authority.
Yes, there's a request to appoint Mr. Mike Robertson to this authority.
Madam Chair, nominate Mr. Robertson. Second.
It's been moved in second that we appoint Mike Robinson to the Pitt Greenville Airport Authority. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're now at commissioners' comments. Commissioner Colson,
I have none.
Fitzpatrick,
No comment.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
No comment.
Albright,
No comment.
Ward,
No comment.
White. Commissioner White. Commissioner Perkins Williams,
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Commissioner Nunley.
No comment.
Okay, did I get everybody?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I believe we have a closed session on our agenda. Madam Attorney, will you take us into closed session?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. It has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve that attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. Also under General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness or conditions of initial employment of a public officer or employee. And finally, under GS 143-318.11A1 to prevent the disclosure of confidential information. With that, you will need a motion to go into closed session.
Commissioner Nunley?
Madam Chair, move to go into closed session.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved to second that we go into closed session. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.